start again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got some interesting things to talk about in relation to Patrick Beverly. Some of the things that he has come out and said about his upcoming contract negotiations around the NBA, what he would want from his contract and stuff of that nature. And at the end of the day, very interesting things, and potentially things that could lead to the Chicago Bulls maybe going in a different direction. And that is that's what this video is going to be about today. So before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Patrick Beverly and whether or not you would you'd re-sign him. Would you bring him back to the Chicago Bulls next season if you had the opportunity to do so? Now, with Patrick Beverly coming into this team, the Chicago Bulls did massively improve as a team. We were already a fairly decent defensive team, but with Patrick Beverly coming into the team, we became a lot stronger of a defensive team. Still have a little bit of issues, of course, on the defensive end, mainly from the size point of view, but at the end of the day, in most aspects, our defense has improved with Patrick Beverly in the team. Our record improved from 14 and 9 or something along those lines with Patrick Beverly playing most of those games. So again, it is an interesting argument to discuss about how much the Bulls have improved with Patrick Beverly. And obviously, if you improve with a player in the team, you'd most likely want to see that player come back to the team next season and stuff of that nature. You don't really want to go in a different direction. But first, before I get into my honest thoughts on the situation, let's talk about what Patrick Beverly has said in relation to his contract situation. And again, I heard this from a couple of videos. I think he even said it himself, basically suggesting that since his game hasn't necessarily dropped off, that he doesn't expect the payday that he will get to drop off as well, and he will be expecting around $13 to $15 million in his next upcoming contract negotiation. Doesn't specifically say the years, how much years he would want that contract and stuff of that nature. So again, a lot of compelling arguments to talk about, but that's essentially what Patrick Beverly is looking for in free agency. So very, very interesting stuff there, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to know what you guys think about that in the comments below. But I'll be honest with you, the way that I see this going, with Patrick Beverly, of course, making us better, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back, but I think the money that he's asking for to come back to the Chicago Bulls team is something I don't think the Bulls can give him, in all honesty. Let's be realistic. We have so many we have so many expiring contracts on this team that we're going to have to make some tough decisions. I don't think we're going to see every expiring contract re-signed for the Chicago Bulls. I just think that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. Those tough decisions are going to have to happen, and if a player is going to force the Chicago Bulls to overpay for them or to pay more than what they currently already are, I just don't see an avenue in which that will work for both Patrick Beverly and for the Chicago Bulls. Again, the Chicago Bulls contract situation, financial situation is very, very tied up, let's say. It's strict. We don't have much rooms to maneuver. We're going to have to get rid of a lot of big pieces if you want to bring a guy like Patrick Beverly back into the team, while also trying to make other moves around the NBA as well, like re-signing guys like Kobe or Vooch or Io or Javonte or anybody else on the team. You need to have those big moves to be made. So again, I think if Patrick Beverly was going to come into this team, he would have to take less money. I'm not necessarily going to be talking about the role about Patrick Beverly. I assume if he was going to come back here, he's either going to be a very prominent sixth man or he will be starting for the Chicago Bulls. It's going to be one of those two things. You're not going to re-sign Patrick Beverly and sit him on the bench and never to play him. You know, he's a good defensive player. He will be playing for the Chicago Bulls if he comes back. But again, I just feel like it comes down to the money, and he would need to be willing to take less money to join the Chicago Bulls. But I'll be honest as well when I say this, I'm absolutely not surprised that Patrick Beverly might leave the Chicago Bulls. I know he has ties in Chicago. He's spoken so much about how much he enjoys being a Chicago Bull and how much the jersey means to him and stuff of that nature, what it's like to be a Bull. He's always wanted to be a Bull and stuff like that. But Patrick Beverly, I've always seen him as a guy that wants to join winning teams, wants to be competing in the NBA. Now, granted, not all of that is his choice. You know, teams trade him and stuff like that. He's been traded a lot in the NBA and stuff of that nature. And of course, in this situation, we got him from the buyout market. He was traded from the LA Lakers. I can't remember what team it was that he joined. And then he got waived. And that's how the Bulls were able to pick him up. And that's how we were able to obviously run with him in the second half of the season, or the post-All-Star break part of the season. So again, there are so many ways that can go. But for Patrick Beverly, if he's looking for a payday, I don't think he's going to get that big of a payday for the Chicago Bulls. And I do see him going to a different team that will probably be competing. I just feel like that is his priority over, I guess, a loyalty towards the Chicago Bulls or to Chicago. But that could most definitely be wrong. Patrick Beverly can say anything that he likes, and at the end of the day, his decision will ultimately define whether I'm right or wrong on the situation. I just don't know how we're going to be able to give him $13 to $15 million, and I'll be honest, I don't think he's worth $13 to $15 million. The way that I see it, for free agency, again, very similar to how I think Kobe White should be treated as well. Look at the aspects of free agency. Look at the top quality guards you can get in. Look at some of the other guys that you think can help this team. Look at the aspects of free agency. For Patrick Beverly, look at the defensive side. Look at the playmaking side. Look at the point guard areas. See what you can find in the free agency market, because I'm sure there could be some deals out there for the Chicago Bulls if they felt like they needed to make a big deal like that. If they find absolutely nothing, if they don't find a point guard that they're happy with, if they're going to re-sign Kobe White and maybe put him as a starting point guard, or he's coming back off of the bench, and you literally can't find anybody else, then if we have $13 to $15 million to give to Patrick Beverly for one season, fair enough. Give him a short-term deal. He is getting up there in age. I don't expect him to sign a 4-year deal with the Chicago Bulls. Give him a 1-year deal. See what happens in the future. If he plays well, great. If he doesn't play well, it's only a short-term kind of situation anyway, and we can move over from it in the off-season, or maybe we can even trade him at some point in the season. I think that's a possibility, but if you're asking me right now, I don't think Patrick Beverly is worth $13 to $15 million. I honestly don't. And I don't think the Chicago Bulls can even give that to him, no matter the circumstances, because I think that is going to be something that is going to hurt us in the long run, in all honesty, if we decide to do that. But again, if there's nobody else out there and Patrick Beverly wants to be here and he wants to stay and help the Chicago Bulls team compete and go and contend in some way, then fair enough. Give him the money if there's nobody else available. And let's not forget, we are the team that put Patrick Beverly's perfect playoff run, in terms of the fact that he made the playoffs every single season he's been in the NBA. We were the team that killed that for him. So let that speak volumes. And yes, he had a part to play in that, but at the end of the day, he had a perfect record before he came to the Chicago Bulls. We were the team that, I guess, broke that record for him. So I don't think that's going to mean anything. Again, I don't think it should mean anything. But if it does mean something, it obviously means something to Patrick Beverly. So yeah, that's kind of where I think, that's what I think my stance is on the situation. I don't think this is denying that Patrick Beverly's made an impact on the team. I think his locker room leadership has been very, very astronomical. Again, I think he's a key reason why Zach LaVine has been able to play at the level he's been playing at. He's obviously a very good defender. We all know that. There's not even a competition about that. Very physical, very hard-working defender. Absolutely, all great things. But $13 to $15 million? I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. And I mean, yeah, look, considering all the other guys we have to pay, I just don't think we can do that for him. But again, we'll have to wait and see. It could be one of the situations where it's very similar to how Dennis Schroeder was treated in the NBA. There was at one point where Dennis Schroeder was expecting an $84 million contract or something along those lines, or he wanted even more than that, my apologies, in his upcoming contract after the season with the Lakers. And he had to end up signing a minimum deal just to stay in the NBA because of how much his demands were. Now, Patrick Beverly is obviously asking for $13 to $15 million. That's not a ridiculous amount of money in the NBA standards, but it could be one of the situations where no team in the NBA is willing to offer him that amount of money. And if that is going to be the case, he might have to accept a lower deal. And that is where the Chicago Bulls may be able to use some of their leverage as well. So it all comes down to time, of course, free agency, seeing what happens with certain players. Maybe there is no other team in the NBA that is willing to offer Patrick Beverly that amount of money. And if that's the case, the Bulls will swoop in, take him on a cheaper deal, and see what we could do for the rest of our team. Let's see. Thank you guys guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Would you keep Patrick Beverly on this team if you had the choice to do so? Would you pay him the $13 to $15 million that you might believe he is worth? Or do you believe he's not worth that contract with obviously his age, the fact that he is a good player, but again, he's a guy that we were looking at in the buyout market. It wasn't someone that we actively traded for. We got him in the buyout market, and I think many people can attest to this. He wasn't our first choice in the buyout market either. So, again, so many questions, so many discussions. Let's wait and see what we end up doing. Okay, have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.